Bloomberg Audio Studios.
Podcasts, radio, news.
Caroline Ellison sentenced to 2 years in jail in the FTX case. She, if you remember, pled guilty to 7 felony counts of fraud and conspiracy in the wake of basically the undoing of Sam Bankman-Fried and his FTX company, which really made everybody in the world, as we know, we covered it day to day, but just really rethink kind of what was going when it comes to digital assets and crypto in particular.
Yeah, indeed. There's a two-life blog running on the terminal as well with the details of the sentencing hearing. Caroline Ellison addressing the court, talking about how sorry she was as well, that she'd agreed to give up all the money that she gained from FTX, according to her lawyer, and that, according to her lawyer, she'll never profit in the future for her role in this crime as well. In her statement, she talked about apologising to lenders, investors, victims who lost money as a result of her actions, and everyone, in her words, that she lied to in the process of the FTX issues. One interesting quote: "The human brain's truly bad at understanding big numbers," she said, "and when a day goes by, I don't think about all of the people that I hurt." So that is Caroline Ellison being sentenced in New York, described as being a cornerstone in the prosecution case against Sam Bankman-Fried. Prosecutors have asked the judge to spare Caroline Ellison from prison in that as well.
Yeah, she'll also have to forfeit about $11 billion as a result of this. So we're getting more details. She is sentenced to, as we said, the 24 months.
Yeah.
And talking about her cooperation specifically, the judge did say that she was by no means free of culpability. So again, something we covered from day to day for a long time, but just seeing certainly as a result some of the sentences.
And look, they'll also be looking more closely now at the sentencing of other cooperators in this case as well, Gary Wang and Nishad Singh as well. Perhaps this may indicate that they may also get jail time. We know if the prosecutors had asked her to spare from a prison sentence, but she is now being sentenced to 2 years at a minimum security facility as well. And the judge did praise Ellison profusely. He said that in this case, this serious, there cannot be a get out of jail free card. So we are talking about Caroline Ellison being sentenced over the collapse of FTX, and that hearing happening right now. We're just showing you some pictures of her leaving court. Of course, during the trial, as we had been covering in detail, of the collapse of that company and the consequences it had been for Sam Bankman-Fried and for others.
Well, and we should remind everybody, right? She was the former CEO of Alameda Research, and that was the trading firm that was affiliated with FTX, specifically the cryptocurrency exchange, which was founded by Sam Bankman-Fried, and then, of course, we know came to its undoing in 2022. So we're also talking about 2 years ago, or roughly 2 years ago, she pled guilty to fraud, money laundering, conspiracy charges related to her role specifically at Alameda Research. So again, we know FTX, Alameda, they all filed for bankruptcy, and it was really that case, that undoing. Here was an individual who was seen as the J.P. Morgan, if you will, of the crypto world, and so many people followed him, respected him. He was the go-to when it came to cryptocurrencies. And of course, the undoing made everybody look very differently at the crypto world. And we think about what kind of oversight was necessary.
Indeed, and look, I mean, this issue for getting jail time is something that's going to keep coming back to as well, because the expectation had been that she wouldn't receive jail time. Our colleagues pointing to the fact that the judge made a comment that he couldn't remember when Caroline Ellison had been even slightly inconsistent in her testimony during this trial. Think about how that contrasts with sort of commentary that we heard around testimony from SBF as well, from Sam Bankman-Fried as well during his trial as well, which there had been frequent criticism from the judge of his inconsistencies in his testimony, and at one point that was something where there had to be extensive hearings without the presence of the jury because of the issues with the testimony from Sam Bankman-Fried, and the fact that there was such a big contrast in how the judge had described Caroline Ellison makes the sentencing here very noteworthy.
All right, just to rehash, Caroline Ellison sentenced to 24 months prison, ordered to forfeit $11 billion by a federal judge for her role in the FTX collapse, and this was despite helping prosecutors in the conviction of Sam Bankman-Fried, which of course was her former boss, but also her former boyfriend. So let's get to Bloomberg News, legal analyst and host of Bloomberg Law on Bloomberg Radio. June Grasso is with us back at New York headquarters for Bloomberg. So June, 2 years, first of all, fair sentence. Where was this in terms of what she was facing?
Well, it's very low compared to what she was facing. And, the judge kept comparing her cooperation to what happened with Sam Bankman-Fried. He said he's never seen a cooperating witness like this. There wasn't any inconsistencies in her testimony. But that still, she committed a crime here, and that, there has to be some kind of punishment. What's unusual is the probation department did not ask for any time, and the prosecutors didn't ask for any time. So the judge has to balance that and the fact that you want to encourage people to come forward, even if they're guilty, to later testify, and that she exposed this whole thing. So he brought that out a lot. But he still wanted to send a message that, you can't get away with this. So he balanced that out. Now, Sam Bankman-Fried got 25 years. So compared to that, she only got 2 years. It seems, I would consider it pretty lenient, although there was a possibility that she would get no time.
What should we be thinking about then when we think about the other sentencing that we're still waiting for over the collapse of FTX? What could that mean then for their prospects?
Well, I think it probably means that they're going to get some kind of a minimal sentence. She was the star witness, and she was the one who came forward first and, helped the prosecutors to unveil the conspiracy. And the judge even took out some spreadsheets that had helped the prosecutors in the case. So they will probably get probably a light sentence, but I don't know if it'll be as light as 2 years. So we'll have to see that. There are 2 more cooperators, but none of them. She was the star witness. It was obvious that she was the star witness. So I don't know if they're going to get as low a sentence as she did. And I say as low a sentence because, she really was facing, 10, 20 years if he had gone by the guidelines. So as Sam Bankman-Fried was sentenced to 25 years. And, the judge took account of her cooperation, and the prosecutors also mentioned, it seemed like everybody was talking about the same thing, how she helped the prosecution so much by cooperating. But so that it was a little bit of a surprise because the judge was talking about her cooperation, et cetera. Then all of a sudden, bam. But, he said, you did commit a crime. And then he said that you have to serve time for that. I had thought maybe he might even let her off without any sentence from the way he was going. But he was just laying a foundation, I think,
right,
so he could explain himself.
Hey, June, one last question. That $11 billion that she has to forfeit, how do we explain that, or what specifically does that denote?
It seems awfully high to me, and that's something that I was just talking to someone about. I have to go and look into it because it seems an awfully high number. I didn't think that she had gotten $11 billion from this, because I know some of the other cooperators who had, had homes and things. It was in the millions, not the billions. So that seems high. I really have to look into it. I think it's rather high. She has to, of course, she has to disgorge it. It's, you would expect that. The judge ruled it, but you would expect that if she didn't, the prosecution would come after her. That should go back to the victims. So that's not surprising, but the number is surprising to me, and I have to really look into where it came from.
Yeah, that number kind of struck me as well, and I know it was a red headline, certainly on the Bloomberg. All right, we're going to leave it on that note. Hey, June, thank you so much. Of course, our legal analyst here at Bloomberg News and host of Bloomberg Law on Bloomberg Radio, so be sure to catch her a little bit later on today on the latest, really, of the FTX saga.
Yeah, fascinating, that headline. Ellison sentenced for 2 years in her role of the collapse of FTX.